Hello and welcome to Cleave to Antiquity. My name is Pastor Ben. I'm joined here by Eric from Catholic Christian. Thanks so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
We're going to talk about this crazy debate that happened between Tim, Jay Dyer, and a Freemason. they labeled it. It was like Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant. It really should have been Catholic, Orthodox, Freemason. This guy was kind of interesting, but I thought it was an interesting debate. We'll go through some of the clips here and then just talk about, I guess, who we thought won. What were your thoughts? I know you said you already saw it, but
yeah, I mean, Tim Pool, right? He's a political ideologue, right? He's a centrist. He, I don't know how much he engages within religion or Christian apologetics, but I didn't think he was prepared for what was going to unfold, especially with Jay Dyer. We love Jay Dyer. Okay. Yeah. We love him as a person, but when you put Jay Dyer in a quasi unmoderated debate, you know, Tim Pool was the quote unquote moderator, but he was just, 5'10" flesh sitting there and chiming in. But yeah, it was a very polarizing. I don't want to say it was a debate. It was just kind of like a free for all. It got really sloppy. It lacked structure. So I think Jay and Tim made some good points, regarding certain elements of ecclesiology. Yeah. Obviously, I don't agree with Jay on everything. That's just my presupposition. But
yeah, I thought Jay and Tim did a good job diving into the weeds of the actual subjects. I mean, it's kind of a broad topic, right? Like which church is better. That was pretty much it. So you talk about anything and everything, but they were pretty on point with the subjects that they were bringing up. Obviously, there's some disagreements there with like Vatican II and things like that I would have with Tim's side, but I thought they did a good job hashing that out until they kind of started to break down a bit, and it was just kind of a shouting match. But I don't even know why the Lore Lodge guy was there. That was he didn't seem prepared at all for that debate.
No, and you almost kind of wonder, like, did he know what he was getting into? Did he know Tim Gordon's background? Did he know Jay Dyer's reputation and stuff like that, and what he was going to be getting into? Because it seemed as if he was like a deer in headlights a lot of the time. And I remember a specific point when Jay was pressing him on that branch ecclesiology that a lot of the Anglicans push, and he had no idea. And then
he didn't even hear about it. He didn't even know about it.
But not only that, he would say, our ecumenical councils, are they dogmatic? Like, are they infallible? And he just couldn't figure out what Jay was asking or arguing for. So again, I'm not trying to defend Jay, but I get the frustration there. It's just like, if you can't understand a simple question or an argument, this is going to be a mess.
Yeah, and he's not even a part of the church that he was defending. He was an inquirer into the Anglo-Catholic Church, so he's a Methodist.
Yeah, why do you think Tim and his producers chose this guy, knowing that he was a Freemason? Because did Freemasonry come up in the debate?
Yeah, I'll play it. I'll play that clip at the end there. I want to do two clips. We'll comment on. I want to go through when they were getting heated about Nostra Aetate, and then kind of display that, and then where Tim made his comment. He was like, "Oh, actually, you're making me more convinced about Catholicism." So I think that'll be a cool clip to cover, and then we'll do the Freemason clip after that. So let's go ahead and dive into that. Actually,
let's dive in.
I'm just gonna. Yeah, let's dive right in.
That's your tag, man. That's your staple. Let's just dive right into this.
There you go. I like that. I'll have to make a like an element that pops up on the screen.
Yeah, like dude. Have a little guy diving off a diving board. Cleave to antiquity, man. Copyright that, son.
All right, let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, I'm gonna press play.
God, it doesn't say the same God as us.
The book says they do.
Thank you.
No, it doesn't.
He just said they don't worship the same God.
Muslim? Are you serious?
What's going on here? How are we having this discussion?
They worship God, who is living and subsisting in himself.
Same.
We're the merciful, almighty creator.
No, you said the same God as us. As us.
It is
you and
saying
I.
Us.
No, it doesn't say us.
Oh, so it doesn't say us. Are you serious?
Dude, Muslims worship. How many gods do Muslims worship, Jay?
Doesn't say.
Jay Dyer, how many gods do Muslims worship? How many do they worship?
By the way.
One or two or three?
I don't believe in generic monotheism. That's a word that exists
in the 1600s. I also don't agree. I believe
Tim, it's the quantifier shift fallacy. Okay.
One thing for
That's
certain is
fine.
the Muslims.
Can you tell me how
You
it's
don't
not?
believe that they believe they worship one
It
God.
doesn't matter because this.
I like the Protestant guy trying to get a word in edgewise, and they just completely ignore him and continue on.
Well, the Protestant guy, God bless his heart. We love him. But he's not well versed in, Vatican II ecclesiology, Nascer Tate Lumen Gentium. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Coming into this debate, I don't think he knew what he was getting into when, they were bringing this stuff up. But I felt bad for him a little bit, but. No?
Yeah, I think he's just smiling and nodding. Oh, yeah. I'll say something funny so I can sound like I know what I'm talking about. Poor guy. I mean, bless his heart. But he's literally a Freemason, though. I don't know. I think the guy's got a decent amount of followers, like maybe 80,000 or something. He's a Freemason. Why would he even come into this debate? They're syncretists. They don't care what religion you belong to. If you're gonna have a what church is the best church debate, you should have a position on which church is the best church, not just whoever, Well, I don't know. I thought that was wild.
So I know Freemasons, they're staunchly anti-Catholic, extremely. I know it's kind of simmered down over the years, but I'm wondering if there's an element there as to why Tim chose this guy. Because, I mean, did you know this guy? I didn't know this guy. Did anybody know this guy? Maybe he's related.
I've done. Yeah, I don't know, man. I've done videos on Freemasonry in the past, condemning it, and this guy's name pops up as like a Freemason apologist, and I'm like, I have no interest in watching his stuff. Freemasonry is wicked, in my opinion.
Yeah, no bueno.
So, yeah, I will say this though, you gotta respect Jay for the fat sandwich he's holding there. That looks like a Subway sandwich with all those notes.
Look at all those sticky notes, man, or Post-it notes or whatever. There's got to be at least 50 of those. So, yeah, I mean, give Jay credit. He reads, he researches, he uses substantiation in his arguments. I mean, I'm not agreeing with every methodology that he uses. I'm not agreeing with his conclusions, but our Protestant friend there is just kind of ad hoc the whole time, and not looking good for him. But.
Let's take a look at Jay's superior debate rhetoric at display right now. Let's look at these nuanced takes that he's about to have, screaming at the top of his lungs.
Statement is that
you said you understood the sense reference
they do
dichotomy.
worship.
They do worship
the one true God, Tim.
So what you're quibbling
you're failing.
is whether or not
you're melting.
The verb and the direct object there are in agreement.
We don't need a grammar lesson.
You do need a grammar lesson.
No,
you do.
You're a logic professor. You couldn't do the quantifier shift fallacy.
This guy doesn't know that Islam claims to worship one God.
It doesn't say they just claim it. It says they do.
It says they.
Notice he hands the book over to Laura Lodge because he's never read it. He's never read Nostradamus. Like, let me look at this for the first time.
And I'm pretty sure Tim Poole, that is not Gordon, he asks for it too, to read it, and he reads the paragraphs, to get the context or whatever. But again, I just want to reiterate, this is what an unmoderated cesspool of just unstructured mess looks like. I don't know what Tim Poole and his producers were getting into, or like, hey, this is what we can do and can't do, but what a mess. Just
I will say this though, I've noticed a lot of people talking about this subject lately since this came out though, so it's good in that sense. Maybe the actual conversation might not be so fruitful, but the post debate discussions are good. All right, let's go.
Worship God, not they worship a God.
Well, the church, the Roman Catholic Church, has always acknowledged
this is the Roman Catholic Church
since Pius X, since two different medieval popes, that Muslims worship in some sense the same God, different reference.
Tim, no, grammatically, this is very straightforward. They worship God, not a God. They worship God,
and even the one true God. The church taught in the medieval church.
They worship God, who is one living and subsubsistent, merciful and almighty.
I'm not quibbling with the Protestant and Orthodox. I'm just saying what the church has always taught.
That is them saying they worship our God.
Could you address the argument then?
Now, to be fair, if I was there, if I was the Protestant there, I'd pull out the JP2 quote.
I know you would. You pulled it out on me.
Yeah, I'd be like, all right, JP2 right here, because he says word for word the same God. That's what they should have did in this. To be honest, well, I think if they were aware of it, they probably would have brought it up.
Yeah. So Tim Gordon, I don't know much about him, and I don't want to like criticize him too much, but I don't know if ecclesiology, especially when it comes to like Vatican II or liturgical reform, is his wheelhouse. Again, I think he did okay. I really do. So I'm not going to criticize him. But like some of the stuff that he's saying, it seems almost as if he's equivocating a little bit between like the same God or worshiping the same God in a sense where it's not really the same God, but in a sense it is. Right. I don't know if you got that a little bit, like, and then the grammar got brought up, oh, well, it doesn't say same, but it just says one merciful God. And then like you were bringing up with St. John Paul II and Nostra Aetate, no, we're talking about the same God, dude. That's what it says. Right. So with Tim Gordon, I know what I know. He is rather a traditionalist. I'm not going to say radical or anything. And they struggle with Vatican II and liturgical reform there with the Novus Ordo. And so I don't know if he was saying like, yeah, I agree just through acquiescence. Okay, fine. I'm reluctant, but I don't really think deep down inside my heart, like, yeah, we worship and believe in the same God. But hey, I don't know. But he did okay. But
I think the optics were way better on Tim. I think the optics were way better on him, just because the host of Timcast was actually, pretty much hyping him up the entire debate, and then later on at the end of this exchange, you'll see him say, everything you guys are saying is making me more sure of the Catholic position. You know what I mean? But I think I think optically, Tim probably won this debate, and I think that's why you see, I don't know if you saw, Jay is like posting a whole bunch about this on X over the last, like, what, 2-3 days since this debate dropped? Just nonstop. Bah. Actually, I was right about this. Now, I don't know about you, but when somebody finishes up a debate, if they feel the need to kind of like cover themselves after the fact, to me, it comes off as like, okay, you lost, but you're trying to do like you're trying to like cover up the fact that you lost. I don't know. That's how it comes off to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's overcompensating. And it's like an ego thing. If you're Jay Dyer, no offense, I love Jay, but if you're sitting there and the neutral and different moderator host at the end sides with Catholicism, that almost says like, okay, well, you didn't do a good enough job, Jay, to defend orthodoxy, and likewise with our Freemason friend. So yeah, he's going to overcompensate and try to, the ego is so hurt that you're going to try to like make up for that wound. Now it's interesting because Tim, he had good composure. Like you were talking about optics. Right. I'm talking about Tim Gordon, by the way. Tim Gordon had good composure during the whole, he had the great dispositions. He remained calm, studious, professional. Mostly, I'm pretty sure for like most of the debate. Well, then you got Jay just, acting again like a teenager, just based on emotion. Yeah, it's just based on emotion. And then he actually sucked in the Freemason Protestant a little bit. Jay did, and there was like a 2-on-1 to try to get Tim to lose his composure. So then, he would lose the debate because they knew he was gaining ground on them. Just not even by the content per se, but just his composure, disposition, and the way he articulated things. But if
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, I'm not just saying this because I like you.
Oh, sorry.
But if you were in that seat and not the Freemason, your like disposition and the way you articulate things and how you keep control, you would have given both those dudes a run for their money. And I'm not just saying that because I like you, but when we talk, when you and I talk, and when others talk against you, I don't see you losing control. I don't see you like just getting all emotional. You know what I mean?
I would have said, Jay, pass me that sandwich. No.
That's a too quote quay, man.
Yeah, that's a too quote quay. Pass me that sandwich, brother.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue on to this. I want to get to the part where Tim chimes in here, host of Timcast here.
Well, how does it quantify?
The argument is the church would be never right if it said a God on Islam.
Tim, you would be right if it said a God.
The argument is what?
I can read you from the personal Pius X Catechism that it says the one true God. You might have issues.
Okay, pause real quick.
It doesn't represent a change.
Okay, guys, real quick.
But it doesn't represent a change.
Okay, we're not.
It doesn't represent a change.
Okay, guys. What
about praying in
the
March?
conversation is not advancing.
Can I ask one question?
This conversation hasn't advanced in 1,000 years.
It's not. I think it's actually been pretty good actually. What I interpret from that is that they were trying to say there is one true God, and even in that regard, they're saying other religions are seeing it improperly and doing it wrong. Like the argument is you look through a keyhole.
Right.
I think that's what it's saying. It's saying
That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying.
Muslims are looking through a hole and they're seeing something tiny and they're not doing it right. Hindus are looking through a different hole. So I think the argument of Vatican II is there is only one true God. Everyone else is just looking at it wrong.
Right. Written by Jesuits.
It also
are very
said-
liberal.
So see now, now it's bad again.
insinuating
Now
that.
it's
Their
bad
church
again.
created the Jesuits.
Now
By
it's
the way.
bad again.
That was on them.
So from the Orthodox perspective,
Yes, the Jesuits are Catholic.
from the Orthodox perspective,
Newsflash.
You just
Protestant
complained
says
about the
Jesuits
Jesuits.
are Catholic.
From the
You
Orthodox,
just complained about them and said they're too liberal.
Yes, that's a
What's-
well-known
what's-
Catholic
what is it,
position.
So Catholics can be too liberal and it's
Is
fine.
it
Protestants,
the
though.
Episcopal Church where they have
Yeah,
like,
they have an
gay women?
ecclesiology still.
That's
We also have
No,
But I got a question.
because I say that
back.
the Jesuits
You're just
trend
objectively
liberal, it
incorrect.
doesn't.
Okay, I think we get the point here. So, so Tim chimes in after this. He literally says that everything you're saying convinces me more and more of the Catholic position. The thing that I wanted to bring out about this though is like, all right, imagine if we had a formal moderated debate between like me and you. All right, and let's say Father James hosts it, who's a Protestant. He's Anglican YouTuber. He hosts the channel Barely Protestant. So say we had him host it, right? And then at the end of our discussion, Father James says, "You know what? I appreciate everything. Thank you so much for coming, y'all. Everything you said has convinced me more of the Protestant position." I would,
Yeah.
dude. What? You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just like that's like you're kind of breaking the bro code there. You know what I mean? You're breaking the moderator code. I think, in my opinion.
In a sense, oh, absolutely. In a sense, I don't think you should do that. I was a little unprofessional. I mean, it's his podcast. He can do whatever he wants.
Right.
But I mean, the title is "Catholics Are the Superior Christians" based on his tweet saying Catholics are the most superior Christians or whatever. But I do want to mention one thing, and no debate. I do want to mention one thing, and I noticed Jay Dyer doing this a lot, and it happened in this discussion, is that they encapsulate. So Lumen Gentium, paragraph 16, they encapsulate every religion, every form, every sect of religion. Now, Jay Dyer, in one of his videos years ago, and it was on Nostra Aetate, he came to the conclusion that, oh, okay, fine, willy-nilly, Satanists, Hindus, occultists, Quakers, we all believe in the same God. Okay, the problem there, and the thing is, what he keeps on doing is he brings in Hindus. We nowhere say that Hindus believe in the same one true merciful God, because Hindus are polytheistic. We're not talking about polytheistic religions and polytheistic gods. Again, no argument, but we're talking about the monotheistic religions that claim, and we will argue by reference, believe in and worship the same God. So Jay will just kind of like, oh, Christians, Hindus, Muslims, he slips in Hindus there all the time. It's like, dude, no, well, that's not what we teach. I mean, you can disagree with us on the Muslim thing. Okay, fine. I get it. I'm empathetic towards you guys and Eastern Orthodox, but don't throw Hindus in there because we don't teach that. But anyways, I just want to get that
I think he's conflating, because earlier in Nostra Aetate it does bring up Hindus, but it doesn't say they worship the same God. It just compliments them. It gives them like compliments.
Yeah, what the church teaches is that there are elements of truth, elements, not like the fullness of it, but elements of truth in other religions, in spite of those religions. So it's not because of the religion per se. We vehemently will confess that Islam is a false religion. You know what I mean? Likewise with Hinduism. But there are rays of truth, like loving your neighbors. A lot of these religions, they employ that. Well, I mean, Christ was the personification and the incarnation of loving your neighbor. You know what I mean? So in that sense, in that limited sense, despite their religion, we take that as an element of truth that can serve as a disposition for a path towards the gospel, the fullness of the truth. All right, I'm done.
Yeah. So you hear that, Protestants? If you're going to debate Vatican II, do it right. Quit bringing up Hindus. That's not how it works.
It's not.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, Vatican II doesn't say that Catholics have the same God as Hindus. It doesn't make any sense. It says Muslims. It brings up Hindus. It says that they try to seek enlightenment. They try to do ABC 1, 2, 3. It uses like poetic language, but it doesn't use the same language it uses towards the Muslims. So you can't use that as an argument. If Protestants, if you're doing this, argue better. So
well, and then one more
yeah,
thing real quickly. I think it would help. It would help because I know a lot of non-Catholics are struggling with this. They find it diabolical. Whatever. I'm fine. Okay. Why is Lumen Gentium, Light of the Gentiles, why is it being promulgated at an ecumenical council? Just because we just want to piss people off and say, hey, we're indifferentists and syncretists and Muslims and Jews. We all believe in the same God, like just arbitrarily? No, it's very pastoral and ecumenical to, in a way, identify elements of truth and sanctification in other religions. Therefore, we can have some sense of solidarity because time's running out and we need all these people to come into the church. You know what I'm saying? So instead of saying, you know, like Hindus, you're screwed, you're damned. Muslims, you're screwed, you're damned. No, that will push them further away. We need to bring them into the church so we look at what's good in spite of their error.
Yeah, I get the point. I mean, I still definitely have disagreements on it. We can have further discussions on it later. But I wanted to dive into the part of this debate in which Jay presses that guy on being a Freemason, because I thought that was one of the funniest moments. I'm gonna watch that for a bit because I thought that was really funny. He just he gets exposed at the end of this. Now, granted, this guy's channel is literally called Laura Lodge. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with like Freemasonic lodges, but I've known every time I post a video that criticizes Freemasonry, I always get comments saying, you need to debate Laura Lodge on this. I'm like, I have no interest in debating a Freemason. I know Freemasonry is evil, so I don't need to debate it. It's not edifying. You know what I mean? But I thought it was interesting. The guy got exposed as a Freemason at the end of this. So let's give that a watch. Well, all right. Which is also interesting because Freemasons are syncretists and they don't care what religion you're a part of. It doesn't matter. So why is he a part of who's the superior church debate? Who knows? But let's give it a watch.
Court in 1947 in a case called Everson versus Board of Ed that literally reversed the meaning and incorporated the First Amendment.
Speaking of which, like Enlightenment Freemasonic values, how do you reconcile Freemasonry with Christianity?
What about Freemasonry is in conflict with Christianity?
How about Albert Pike's teachings?
Albert Pike is not recognized as influential by most Masons.
Okay,
his teachings are non-essential.
You're telling me the morals and dogma.
I am a Freemason, yeah.
Morals and dogma.
I'll admit I've had my questions because I have.
I am a Freemason, yeah. No, not that Freemason. He doesn't count. No, not that one. Not that one.
Yeah,
any Freemason you bring up, all the bad ones, we disown them.
Yeah,
P2 Lodge, don't bring up P2 Lodge, please.
Oh man,
absolute insanity.
Run into things.
You're telling me morals and dogma is not used in Scottish Rite?
No, it is used in the southern jurisdiction of the Scottish Rite and the southern.
So it's not influential. So he has a giant statue in D.C., but he's not influential.
He was influential for a number of other reasons. Okay. Secularly, he was a Civil War general. He was a accomplished ethnographer.
Okay, what about Manly P. Hall? He also doesn't count?
Manly P. Hall admitted that he wrote everything that you have a problem with before he became a Freemason.
What Masons do count?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about with Freemason.
Yeah, he's like, who does count? I'm going to list like 70 people. You're just going to say no to all of them.
Dude, you know what they need? They need an infallible magisterium to determine who is an authentic Freemason and who isn't.
Yeah, they need the Freemasonic Pope.
Yep.
Pope of Freemasonry.
Yeah,
that'd be wrong.
Absolutely.
I mean, Freemasonry is the first 3 degrees. That's it.
Or the philosophy.
What is
it? Not true. There's 32nd, 33rd degree.
There are in the Scottish Rite, which is appellate to Freemasonry. It's like getting a merit badge.
Yeah, but I don't care about what your terms are for these different sects. When these aren't
my terms.
They have a naturalistic bent and ethos. For example, Pike says that.
Pike is irrelevant to me.
No, he's not. Well, he's irrelevant to you, but not to the history of Freemasonry.
No, Pike is irrelevant to everything outside
of the history of Freemasonry.
Pike is irrelevant
to the history of Freemasonry generally.
Who's the Freemason here? Who's the one who knows what he's talking about? It's not.
And suddenly he's the expert there. Who's the Freemason? Oh, now I'm knowledgeable. I have no idea about what you guys are talking about. Christianity, who knows? But Freemasonry, now I'm the expert. I don't know. I thought that was.
So I mean, really, the title should be. I wonder if the title should have been changed to like Freemasons are the superior Christians after he gave his little spiel there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild,
what
man.
degree
I mean,
are
that's
you?
huh, say what? Oh,
Oh, I
think you
said, what
froze.
degree are you?
Me? No Freemasonry here, man. I got the Freemasonry repellent. I spray it.
Oh, nice.
Spray myself down like DEET, like mosquito spray.
Yeah, man. You're gonna need to lend some of that to me.
Yeah, there you go. I've done courses at my church actually, teaching against the teachings of Freemasons. The
Oh,
moral
really?
was like friends don't let friends be Freemasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Not too free. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't. Do you know anything about that about Freemasonry other than it's like anti-Catholic?
So I'm trying to remember. It goes back to our founding fathers and maybe before then, because I know a lot of them were Freemasons, and I know it's developed and evolved over the years. It's kind of like a quasi secret society.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I remember I read somewhere that they're considered Protestants, just like it's a Protestant sect. And I don't know if I can get on that bandwagon. I haven't really looked into it, but that's
no. Freemasonry is a cult. It's a secret society. You don't have to be a Christian to belong to it. You could be a Muslim. You could be, whatever. It was started as a part of the Stonecutter Union. So it started actually. It was a Roman Catholic workers union, and it kind of developed over time. It took the principles of the Enlightenment. Eventually, it was condemned. I forget by which pope, but it was condemned by a pope because they wanted to basically infiltrate the Roman Catholic Church and subvert it. Now they do this with other institutions as well. I've done videos on this. If you want to check it out, feel free. But long story short, it's a cult. It's a secret society. They've done some pretty nasty things in history. No Christian should be a Freemason because the entire point of Freemasonry is pushing syncretism and religious indifferentism. It's the principles of the Enlightenment is what it's pushing. Now, you do see with a lot of the more liberal Protestant denominations, a lot of this infiltration by Freemasons, but the liberalism is more a symptom of the Freemasons infiltrating these organizations to begin with.
Yeah. So our church fought and anathematized modernism, which is like a product of the Enlightenment with, Immanuel Kant and what's that other guy's name? I can't think of it, but basically rejecting public revelation and reducing, your religion to faith experience, subjective faith experience. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Pope St. Pius X that said no bueno to Freemasonry. Yeah. But I know our church has often been against it.
Yeah, Eastern Orthodoxy has anathematized Freemasons. Roman Catholicism has anathematized them as well. You can't be a Freemason and a member of the LCMS. There's several Protestant churches you cannot be a member of if you are a Freemason. So a lot of these different groups do actually push back against Freemasonry. Unfortunately, like the Episcopal Church would be one that's open to Freemasonic membership, which is I think kind of evident in the way that they've kind of turned out now. Yeah. But you also see, even in some of the groups in which they're anathematized, they still end up kind of sneaking in and getting some of these positions. Like I did a video in which Archbishop Elpidophoros, the Eastern Orthodox Archbishop, he wrote the foreword to a book by Master Mason Nicholas Laus on geopolitical subversion by Freemason. It's called Nuopolitik. It's basically like subversive politics by Freemasonry. And he's like, this is an excellent book. Wow. Love this. Thanks, my buddy Nicholas. Whatever. Wow. so I mean, you still see that kind of stuff. But I just thought that was interesting. They invited this guy on. So everything said, who do you think won this debate?
Oh gosh. You want my honest opinion? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think anybody won, to be honest. No, seriously. Like, so the premise, the title, Catholics are the superior Christians. By what means? By what criteria? What does it mean to be superior? You know what I mean? We're not talking about the church or like Catholicism per se. We're talking about individual Catholics. I'll tell you straight up, Ben, and I don't mean to denigrate any Catholic individuals or any saints that we've had in the past 2,000 years, but I've met holier Protestants than most Catholics that I know. And likewise with, maybe, I don't know about Eastern Orthodox. That's a tough one. But yeah, so I don't know. It just comes off as kind of pompous and triumphalistic. Again, I'm not saying it's inherently wrong but I thought it was a big troll from Tim Pool's Twitter, months ago. And then they finally got a debate. Yeah. Of course, you got to bring Jay Dyer in if the title's Catholics are the superior Christians, to try to give Tim Gordon and the rest of them a run for their money. But yeah, I don't think no one won anything. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah. Tim Gordon did an okay job of defending Lumen Gentium Nostra Aetate. He did okay, probably better than I could do. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know.
You're right. I didn't even catch that it was about the superior Christians. I don't know why in my mind I imputed church there in that part there. So you're right. It is talking about individual Christians. So the premise is off from the beginning. But if we were to take it from the approach of just kind of like like you said, kind of like a troll debate, kind of whatever. We're just going to have fun, invite these guys and let them go nuts. I think ultimately the winner is the Timcast for all the views they got, first off. But I think rhetorically, probably, I think Tim Gordon did a better job at just kind of the optics surrounding him. Because you're right, he was cool, composed the entire time. He didn't freak out. There was one part in the debate where Jay was like, "You're melting down," while Jay is actively melting down.
Yeah. That's what that's called in psychology, is projecting.
Yeah. He's projecting. He's waving a sandwich around. But but anyway, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Definitely kind of what you expect from a Jay Dyer debate, but I thought it was cool. I definitely think if they're going to do something like that again, invite an actual Protestant on there. Hey, invite me on there, man. I don't even care if you're biased.
Bro, you're going to get on there. Trust me. You got some big names contacting you. You've been collaborating with some people. You just give it a few months and you'll be on Timcast, man, and I'll support it. But I do want to agree with you though, like when it comes to just etiquette and behavior and style, Timothy Gordon all day long, because his emotions didn't get to him. He was getting emotional. I mean, my gosh, Jay Dyer, how do you not? But he kept his composure for I think the majority of the entire discussion. And usually, again, I'm just saying, usually the person who has the truth lets the truth speak. You don't need to get all, emotional and come up, oh, you're too quoting 5 times in a row here, and all that jazz.
But I noticed Jay did that a lot in this debate. He was throwing out like ad hominem, too quoque, appeal to authority. He was like just naming fallacies back to back. I noticed that when people get frazzled, if they're especially like a debate bro type person, that seems to be the default for a lot of people, especially if you don't. I mean, not to say that Jay definitely has an argument. I've seen him argue this before and he's argued it well, but I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way when somebody's going into a debate and all they do is throw out, "Oh, you're using a logical fallacy. You're straw manning me, bro. You're straw manning me." I don't know. That's like the most annoying thing you can do in a debate. God bless Jay. I'm sure he was frustrated because of the situation. And obviously, I think Tim Pool was maybe a little bit biased, which helped the optics in favor of Tim Gordon. So Jay was probably frustrated about that. So I don't blame him for that. I might be frustrated in the same situation, but it's not good optics when you're just repeating, "Oh, you're using a logical fallacy," over and over and over again. But yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll see a part 2.
Yeah. Well, like you said, I think it would be interesting if we got some other people on that kind of forum or whatever, just not to say that Tim or Jay or whatever, they weren't good enough, but yeah, oh man. Yeah. Like you were saying about Jay, I mean, really anyone who just really takes check marks of logical fallacies, in a sense, you're just ad hominem the other person by saying, "Oh, logical fallacy." Even if it's true, you don't need to say it. Does that help your position to point out your interlocutor's logical fallacies chronically? Even right. Maybe he has said 1 or 2, but obviously, he's not saying 10 or 20, obviously. So yeah, it just kind of discredits yourself and your position. But
Yeah, I think rhetorically that's not a good way to go about it. So if anybody's watching this, don't do that in your next debate. It doesn't make you look good. I don't know. No, I don't think anybody's ever looked good from pointing out logical fallacies like more than once. Like maybe one time is okay if it's really egregious. Like you're like, well, actually, what you're doing is you're just doing an appeal to authority. Do you have an actual argument? And then asking for clarification. Like that's the way to go about it. Like, actually, that's just an appeal to authority. Can you explain to me why this authority is correct? Boom.
Right. That's
Like,
just the proper etiquette when it's prudent, when it's necessary, when it is pertinent to the argument, right?
right.
To point out this fallacy just to get like clarification on, fine. Do it in a charitable way too. I'm sorry, but when you're just all emotional the whole debate, you lack credibility. You just do. It's almost as if you know you're wrong and you got to overcompensate for that, being wrong. And so, blah, 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 logical fallacy number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Take a drink every time Jay Dyer brings up a logical fallacy and you'll be hammered.
Yeah, that's rough. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been fun. We'll have to do something again soon.
You bet, man. Thanks for having me, Ben.
All right. Thank y'all for watching. God bless.